Well, welcome back to another Waynos Fotos video, and this video is specifically about this lens right here, which is the Blazar Remus 65mm T2 1.5 squeeze lens. Now, there's the new ones have come out, the Blazar Kato, but as I've done in another video, if you're using a 16:9 sensor, I do believe the 1.5 times is your better option. And if you're interested in that, go watch my other video. I explain all that perfectly in depth about that. But just getting back to this lens, this is a review on the 65mm. Now, this lens here, some people say is the lens to buy if you're only going to buy one lens. Now, I sit in the other camp where if I'm saying only go buy one lens, go and buy the 45mm lens. But there is the B set out now, which has the 50, 85, and 125. Maybe the 50 might be a good pick, but I would probably say that would be better than 65. This lens here specifically looks a little bit on the telephoto side of lenses. It doesn't look more like a wide lens. That's why I would prefer the 45mm or the 50mm if you're only going to buy one lens, not this one. So this one is a good complement to the wider lens. I've ordered the 33. I think that the 45, 65, and 100 is a good spread, but I like to shoot a little bit wider more than telephoto, so that's why I've ordered the 33. That lens should be really nice lens. And for talking head here, you'll get a bit more wider view and it won't look quite so telephoto. This lens, when you put it on, looks a lot more telephoto, and I'm going to put that on in a minute. But just talking about this lens, I've done a video where I took it out in the field. I went with my girlfriend Amina, and we went for a walk around Herdsman Lake, which is a beautiful spot where we have a lot of native birds and everything like that. And that there, I used this exclusively. The only other shots in it were some drone shots, which were done on a Mini 3 Pro DJI drone, and also there was one shot using a GoPro 360 camera. Apart from that, all of them were shot on this lens right here. So you can have a look at that at the end of the video, and you can judge for yourself what it's like out in the field. There was one shot where Amina walks behind a bush like this, and I hadn't got that quite in focus, so don't blame that on the lens, blame that on the operator, which is me. But apart from that, all the others were focused carefully, and you can see what the focus is compared to the other lenses like this 45mm, which I've got on right now. So guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that 45mm off. I'm going to whack this one on, and you'll be able to see the change in focal length from the 45 to the 65. Well, that's the 65mm. I've just changed it out for the 45mm, and you can see the magnification or the focal length difference to the 45. It's a lot more zoomed in. And as we can see, the flares in the background, what I'll do is I'll just change some of the cones on the back, and I'll lower that light at the back so you can see the flares, and we'll change the focus on the lens, and you can see the flares on it. But as you can see, that's the zoomed in difference between the 65 and 45. I think it's quite a lot, and why I prefer the 45 for general viewing, because it has a much wider view. And generally I like shooting with a wider view when I'm doing video. So let's get back there on that light, and let's see if we can fiddle with the flares a little bit. Well, that's just the cob light without any of these type of modifiers on. And as you can see, we've got a fairly thin streak. Now, if I change the focus and I focus onto the light, we can see how that will change out to a very thin line. So we've got it in focus there now. So we can see there's a very, very thin streak that we get on the line. So let's just go back to me. Actually, let's just leave the focus there, and I'll go and change it out for this little modifier right here. That there is with the modifier on, and as you can see, it changes the flare quite a bit on the 65. So let's just change the focus back to me, and we'll get that back into here, and we can see that where I'm just in focus now. And as you can see, it's quite a powerful streak. So what we'll go and do now is I'll go and get the other reflector, the big cone reflector, and we'll see how that looks. Well, that's the big cone modifier that comes with the nanolights. And let's just change the focus on that and see how that looks. So pop that out to the cone. There we go. And we've got that. And as you can see, we're getting a number of lines coming across the screen here over the top. So that's what we get when we put the bigger cone on. I'll just go and fiddle with the intensity as well so you can see what that looks like. So let's just adjust the focus back to me again, and we'll get that onto me. And as you can see, there I am, back in focus. So this is the cone that we're talking about, the big cone that I just put on. So that's where we are, guys. That's the 65mm. That's what it looks like. And so you can get a good idea if you're thinking of just getting a 65. But I generally would recommend, if you're going to buy one lens or you're looking at just getting one anamorphic lens to have a try, I would recommend the 45. It does have a bit more of a distorted feel. So to me, it feels more anamorphic. This lens doesn't feel quite as anamorphic. You may prefer that, but it is quite a zoomed in focal length. And I think that is the only thing that I find makes it a little bit less usable. Like for talking heads, to me, this is impractical compared to the 45mm. So that's the options, guys. If you're looking at the 45 or the 65, I wouldn't suggest, if you're just getting one lens, the 100mm. The 100mm, it does have some halations and it is soft wide open, and it does sharpen up around about T4, but that has some limited type of uses. It's not the sort of thing you can just put on your camera and just do run and gun. So that lens is a bit of a specialty lens, I would say, when you just want to get those kind of nice over someone's shoulder type look, or peering through the leaves where you really want something out of focus and you want the background in focus, or the opposite way around. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave the video, and I will see you next vid.